my design process. So I look at design as a series of solutions to a given problem. And I essentially start from what the function is. So if I have to design something that, like we had a client who wanted an extendable dining table because she had limited space but liked to entertain clients and wanted to convert a 4-seater in her regular use to a 6-seater. So we started with the function of things. Of course, was that how do we seat 4 people, then to 6 people. But the function doesn't stop there, and that's where the next aspect of my design process comes about, which is that I'm a compulsive asker of questions, and it's a process that I would like to be completely exhaustive about. Who's using it? How often does it need to be opened up? How often does it need to be closed? Where it is going to be sitting in the house? How many chairs are you going to have? 2 abreast, 1 on top, or 3 abreast on each side? There's questions to everything, and I believe that unless you ask a whole bunch of questions, you don't really arrive at a comprehensive solution. And a question for me need not find an answer. I would be I'd be happier if my question raised further questions, and that dendritic sort of diversification into a million possible solutions is where actually I like to start the play with. And at the end of the end result actually becomes a play, because you've got one solution which is counterintuitive to the other solution, or blankly opposite. If you do one, then you can't do the other. So it's a play that you need to figure out, and during the course of the play, you have to have an entire field of scenarios laid out in front of you, and that field of scenarios is only visible when you ask a lot of questions that I'm talking about. Then of course comes the form, where you put things on paper, I draw it out, and the legs are going to be slanted, are they going to be straight, angular, is the top going to be floating above the base, and all such things. And when you draw it out, you get a better sense of the form, and then you need to design. Of course, what's closely related to form is the way you would actually construct it. So those processes are running through my head as well, because those questions have already been asked before. And we arrive at possible solutions of... Now, this table was special because it involved... I'd never seen this solution before. So literally one day, and I was sitting and I was like, what if instead of opening it and closing down on the same plane, it was to come above it? Now, that sounds like a simple solution, but you often don't find extendable dining tables actually engaging in something simple as that, because the final height of the dining table would drop by the thickness of the top. So this ended up as a simple idea, but a really elaborate design solution. So it took its time, but it was finally a really elegant, simple solution. All you had to do was pull the table out, it would lock in place, and once you were done, push it back, and it would lock in place. I mentioned about the emotion of design. So at the end of the day, the solutions we design are for the people who use it. So it has to be completely human-centric. And we have to put ourselves as designers into people's shoes. And not only our shoes, but their shoes and the shoes of all the people who will end up using their design. So that's a lot of different shoes that I'm talking about. And unless we have the sense of that emotional intelligence to be able to look through people's desires, their wants, their emotions, because we finally connect with emotion. I mean, you could have all the intellect in the world and speaking to another intellect, but where you will finally connect is an emotion. So the furniture needs to value that emotion, or the myriad emotions that come with being a human being. When you sit at a chair, you need to feel supported, you need to feel comfortable, you need to feel like there is someone looking after you. And that's the purpose of the chair. Now, that's what I would like to do as a designer for someone. So if you have my chair and you're sitting on it, you should feel ensconced in safety. And you should feel completely supported in what you're doing at that time. Whether it's the whole philosophy that I follow with the lightness of being, for example, which is all our furniture at BARO has a strong purpose behind eliminating visual weight from it. So there is all the excess visual weight is shed in order to make the appearance of a piece much lighter. Even though it'll occupy a similar, classical volume, the idea is to make it appear lighter. So that when you interact with it, when you live with it, when you cohabit with it, you feel that sense of lightness, especially in overcrowded urban areas. We want to come home, shed off our saddles of work, and just feel light. And that's what the furniture needs to do, because it's cohabiting with you. So if you give an emotional quotient to the furniture as well, we find a connect between the human interaction with the furniture. So we as people can relate, therefore. So ironically, I'm going to pick 5 pieces that were ubiquitous and not prestigious, rare pieces that are one-offs. So the idea being that everyone knows about. So the number 1 would be the peacock throne, which is supposedly Shah Jahan's throne, and it was. Everyone in India seems to know about it, and it was the crown jewel and all such things. Number 2 would be the fornicator, the Bombay fornicator, also known as the planter's chair, the gynaec chair, the beautiful loungy chair with long arms where you could rest your feet and forget about the world. Number 3 would be the Munshi desk, although the Munshi desk would predate the planter's chair by centuries. So that kind of showed how Indians were alien to Western ideas of furniture, where we sat cross-legged at a platform and had a working station in front of us with things to store inside it. That's been around for centuries, and still you can find it every now and then in places. Coming more to the modern era, I would pick something that's found in almost every small town or medium-sized town in verandas. It's the common cane chair made of, the beth, as we call it in Hindi. And it's you find it everywhere. You get it in different shapes and sizes. It's essentially cane that's bent to the thicker variety, and chairs made out of it. You know what I'm talking about. The other one I would pick is something that you would find in all government offices, right from the 60s all the way till now. Now, of course, they're being replaced with more modern versions of it. But that essential metal chair, which was a derivative of the original Seska chair with a cantilever. But of course, this was the cheaper Indian-made version of things with the metal desk on, drawers on one side and the single panel on the other side. You found it everywhere, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. So I think I've covered 5. What I would cover as a 6th, although not everyone's familiar with it, but people who are more in tune with design are, that's the famous Chandigarh chair. Of course, when you say the Chandigarh chair, you're talking about many chairs, but I would refer to the one that is the dining chair, with the arms, crossed legs, and the cane back in the seat.